welcome to another Aspiring Teen Chefs. It's just me today. The kids are on summer holidays, but I wanted to give you guys a brief video on making homemade dill pickles because they are really, really delicious. I have my hot water bath going here so that when I'm ready to fill my jars and everything else, they can just be dunked in there, and then as soon as they get back up to a boil, well, we'll show you what happens from there. So don't worry, I'm going to put the recipe on an index card in the video, and it'll also be included in the description below. So hope you like this video. It won't be very long, and I'll be talking about lots of other things that have been kind of going on in our lives since the last video. So no, we haven't gone away to a nice beautiful tropical island and to sit in the sun for all the summer. Although it was hot enough here to be a tropical island, but we'll be right back and I'll start showing you the steps to make this. We have our jars in our sink with as hot of water as we can get out of the tap. We're going to sterilize our jars so that everything is nice and clean and we don't want to get sick. So I'm just going to flip my camera around here so that you guys can see where the jars are soaking. I usually do a dozen at a time. So there we go. We got, I don't know if you can see the steam coming off of that. I've got 12 jars sitting here. Now what we're going to do is we're going to dump some boiling hot water into these jars to sterilize them, but you want to warm up your jars first because going from cold to hot will a lot of times break some jars. And you don't want to do that. You don't want to waste your money. Alright, so first of all you need 8.5 cups of water. I did that double, so I did 17 cups of water. I got it just starting to, oh no I don't have it starting to heat. So we are going to turn that on. And then you need 2.5 cups of white vinegar, again doubled for us, so that's, no, 2.25 cups, so that's 4.5 cups of vinegar. And then we're gonna add some pickling salt. So I'm going to get my salt. I like to use Sifto or whatever happens to be available. And you only need 1/2 cup of pickling salt in each batch. So I am going to put in 1 full cup of pickling salt. So I will be right back after I add that. Alright, so you see that my water is almost at a full boil to sterilize my jars. I'm going to have to do that a couple of times. We also have to bring our recipe to a full boil for our brine. Again, our water to put our pickles in a hot bath after is actually at a boil. I don't want to put the camera over there else it'll get too steamy. But, and just in case you're wondering, this is our rental house. So this is one of the reasons why I was having such trouble doing videos. So I'm just going to pour this hot water because we had bought our new place and it had a rental house. And the people who were living here kind of almost destroyed it. They almost burnt it down and a whole bunch of stuff. So we have had to spend quite a few months putting it back together. My father-in-law's stuff is here because he's going to be moving in at the end of this week. He's already brought most of his stuff over. So it's a bit crowded right now because of the stuff, but I'll give you a little sneak peek of what it looks like in a few minutes as soon as I get this stuff going. So this is more boiling water to sterilize the jars. This is the view from the kitchen window. Isn't it lovely? So I'm actually going to take some of that boiling water after it sits for a minute and put it into other jars so I can do like 3 or 4 jars at a time instead of waiting. So this is very hot, so I'm just kind of show you as best I can. Sorry, I'm doing this all by myself. We're going to leave that boiling water in there, some of it. And then we're going to pour a little bit more in here. Ouch, that's really, really hot. And I'm watching the view on the camera as well as trying to do this. So I'm going to switch hands. Because this hand's cold, so it's kind of like, it's okay, you can do boiling water for me because I'm freezing. It's really chilly. We got up to 30 this year. Oh, and I had a jar fall over, but that's okay. We're just going to dump it out. We can actually take a little bit of this water to keep the jars from falling because we're going to add a whole bunch of hot water to these and we're going to get them sterilized. And then we're going to pack them. So I'm going to actually cut the video, and after I sterilize about 6 jars, because I can only fit 7 into my canner at a time. After I sterilize 6, I'll show you the packing. Alright, so we are ready to pack some jars. We're going to sterilize our lids too, but we just have to wait for some water to boil. So we're going to take the jars, just dump out the hot water, and we're going to pack them with pickles. It usually will take anywhere, depending on the size of your pickles, anywhere from 8 to a dozen pickles to pack your jars in. And I recommend sliding them in. And before we get any more pickles in there, we're going to put in some dill. So this is fresh dill from my garden. You want mostly the flowers because they taste good. Now, just so I can get like an extra wow dill factor happening here, I add a little bit of dill weed, just the dried stuff, about a 1/4 teaspoon. You don't need much. And then garlic, which I don't think I have a knife here, so I might have to go get a knife. Alright, so we use about 1 clove of garlic per jar of pickles. So let me just wrestle with this. Just give it a little smack. You can get off the outer husk really easy. Just put one of those in there, and then we're going to continue packing our pickles. So this has to go back in hot water so that when you're ready to fill your brine, it won't be on a cold jar because the brine is heating on the stove. So you want to fill only to this part of your jar because you need to have breathing space. And I'll show you one more. And then I think you guys will get it. It's really not a difficult task. So again, our garlic, just give it a little smack. And of course this time it's not going to work as well, but there we go. Give it a little smack. You can just pull this off, and garlic and dill and a little bit more dill. Like I said, about a 1/4 teaspoon, and pack. And if we washed all these cucumbers, and they're not optimal because they've been in the fridge for about 3-4 days, but they will still work. It's always optimal if you can pickle your pickles as soon as you pick them. But we have been super busy with moving and everything else, and the chickens, so I'm going to try and get some smaller ones here to fit in here. So as you can see, I have lots and lots and lots of cucumbers. This year we've had a bumper crop. It's just been insane trying to use all the pickles, and don't worry about smashing them in there. So this is our canning lids, and as you can see, our brine is bubbling away, so I'm going to turn that off. If I can turn the right button off. Sorry for coughing, it's very vinegary in here right now. So we're just going to turn that off. It's hot enough. Now we're going to bring our lids to a boil so that when we pour the liquid in, we can have sterilized lids. And yeah, so we'll be back when I'm done packing my jars. I got 4 done. All right, so we have 6 jars of pickles prepped. It only took me a few minutes. Now, when you don't get a chance to get your pickles your pickles done in time and you have to leave them in the fridge, just be aware that some of your cucumbers may go the way of the compost heap. So this is why they always recommend that you do them right away. So I'm going to actually be brining my pickles right away and then popping on the lids, but I'm going to show you a couple of important tools. So this tool, I know it looks like torture chamber. This is for tightening your lids. I actually don't seem to need those. I end up over tightening them, and so I don't use that. This is a magnet that you can use to get your hot, steaming hot lids out of the water. This is a ladle, obviously, for ladling your stuff. We have a funnel. This is a canning funnel, but any funnel will work. This is to grab your hot jars out of their water bath, or if you're actually canning vegetables, to pull them out after your canner has, the seal has popped. So it's a very handy tool. You just grab onto the jar. I'll just kind of demonstrate with one of these. You just pop it around the rim here, and you lift, and then you don't burn your hands. I actually was doing jams, jellies, pickles for about 20 years before I actually discovered that handy tool. So yeah, super handy tools. We have some stuff that's going to be going bye-bye into the compost pile. That's that, or maybe I'll give them to our chickens because I'm sure the chickens would like them. So yeah, we'll be back and I'll show you how to brine. All right, as you can see, our lids are boiling, so we're going to take that over here so we have it handy. Let's move some of this stuff. I know it's a much smaller kitchen here. And we're also going to take our brine off the stove, and we're going to put it over there as well. So I'm just going to put the camera down so that you can see that. So here's our brine, very, very hot. So what we're going to do first is we're going to take our ladle, if I can find it. Here it is. Sorry if I cough, because this vinegar smell really sometimes makes me cough. So as you can see in there, our salt has dissolved. And depending on the size of the ladle you use, it takes about 4 or 5 scoops. And also how many pickles you actually put in your jar. I think this one's, I wasn't counting, but I think it's taking 6. So again, you only fill it up to that bottom. Okay, and then I'll show you with my stick, if I can find my stick. So this little handy dandy stick, you just grab one lid and the magnet helps hold it so you don't lose it. It is very hot. Do not touch the surface that's going to touch the pickles. And you pop that on, like so. And then you get one of your rings, and you pop that on. And I don't think it's actually necessary to sterilize the rings. I just always do. And then you tighten. Now this does get hot fairly quick. You tighten it by hand. And then you put it in your boiling water right away. Your water is going to cool down, and then we'll have to wait for it to get back to the boil, and then it has to boil for 15 minutes in the bath. You don't want to cook your cucumbers, but at the same time you do need to get that vapor pressure in there so that your lid seals. So once again, I'll just keep doing this and I won't talk now, and I'll just film. And I'll probably edit a lot of this down so you don't have to watch me filling jars, which I'm sure is not very fun. And I should move fairly quickly now. Alright, so I'm not 100% sure how well you're going to see this, but we put all 6 jars into our canning, and you can just use a pot on the stove for this. You don't have to use a canner. I just do because it holds more jars. Now you want it just underneath the shoulders, that's what they call it, of the jar, where it starts to curve in. You don't want to completely cover them because then you'll lose your vinegar and water, because it gets so hot that the vinegar and water, the vinegar mixture, your brine, will actually seep out. So you want it just covered, and since I just put it in, it's no longer boiling, and we'll bring it back up to a boil, and then we'll time it for 15 minutes, and then we'll remove them from the heat. So I'm just going to give you a little overhead shot. Hopefully the camera picks that up. My water's boiling, so I'm actually going to set it for 15 minutes now to sit there. So, timer. Oh yeah, this isn't digital. And since it's been boiling for about a minute, we're gonna, oh crumbs. Sorry, I'm not as familiar with this, so I'm gonna actually just leave it for 13 minutes timing. And sorry, gotta press start. So 13 minutes at a boil. It doesn't have to be at a hard boil. So please, if it boils too much, turn down your water. Like I said, you don't want to cook your pickles. So I will show you the end product once I get all of these dill pickles done. And then I'm going to do another video on Yum Yum pickles, because those are my second favorite pickles. So you guys take care. Alright, I said I would take you for a little tour of the rental house. So this is the kitchen and dining room. So it's quite big. It's good for 1-2 people, maybe a couple with a little kid, but yeah. This is a storage area. I don't want to store too much stuff of my father-in-law's because I don't think he'd appreciate it. This is the laundry room, and the room I'm most proud of is actually the bathroom, because I feel like I did a fantastic job. So sorry if this is too bright for you. Light fixture, went with all white. We actually installed a tub in here because this was just a shower, and my father-in-law said he would like to have a tub, so we put this in ourselves. And the flooring my son did, and he did a fantastic job. And this is, I'll show you the garage. It's an attached garage. It's quite nice. And again, I don't want to show you too much of my father-in-law stuff, but yeah, it's a double garage, a heated floor, so it'll be awesome for him. I'm just looking forward to him moving in. Yes, believe it or not. Oh, by the way, he tried my pickles and he thought they were awesome. And his mom made some pretty world famous pickles. So, haven't really looked in here how he's got it set up, but this is the 1-bedroom. And show you the closet. And the closet actually goes to the next room, which I will show you. And yes, this is the living room. So as you can see, we had smashed doors, pardon me. This is the other bedroom. It is a bit small, but you know what? For a couple of people with a kid or two, it would be perfect. So yeah, we had smashed doors. They rerouted electrical. They almost burned the house down. So if you rent, please don't do that, because it's been 3-4 months of us trying to fix up this place. So, all right, because these were boiling for a little bit longer than what I kind of knew, I'm actually going to take them out now. Oops, sorry. So we're using our handy dandy little tool. You just need to have a good grip. And when you bring your items out of the hot bath, you have to make sure that you space them at least an inch apart, because then they'll cool down faster. And you don't want any cold wind on them. You don't want them in the wind at all. You just have to let them cool down naturally. And I've packed all the rest of my pickles that I have that are the right size for these jars. So I'm gonna get those going. And I'm also going to do some gallon, and they call them fridge pickles. I do these, and they're usually stored in the fridge, although I do seal them. But the new canning guides don't recommend doing this and selling them or whatever, but we eat them and they're delicious. So when I get them all done, I will show you. So here are my gallon size jars that I'm gonna do refrigerated pickles in. And just to give you a little idea, one thing I forgot to mention is that at least here in Canada, there are many different sizes, or 3 basic. This is your wide mouth. Now lid is no good for anything citrusy, or if you're going to actually can, because there's a thing missing out of or there's some discoloration here, so this was probably reused. So I'm going to actually throw that one away. This is your gem or mason lid, and as you can see, completely different sizes. And then these are your standard or your small mouth jars or narrow mouth. And as you can see, they're again a little bit smaller. So I don't know, for the people who watch me internationally, I don't know if there are the exact same sizes everywhere else. I just know in Canada, this is the sizes that we have. So for pickles, I prefer wide mouth. They're just easier to get out of the jar. I will use all 3. And you'll see when I pull the pickles out, I also made some hamburger pickles because I didn't have quite enough smaller pickles to do full jars of just the whole dills. So I'll show you those, and I'll kind of give you a little explanation as well. All right, so we are ready to start cutting our pickles for Yum Yums. This is what we have for the size. So these are like your mediums. They're not going to really fit in a pickle jar too good. So this is why we cut them up into Yum Yums. Anything really bigger than, say, this one though, you're just looking at and eating. Now, one thing I did forget to mention is always wash your cucumbers before you do them. Take off the blossoms and take off the stem. Although for my Yum Yums, I don't use the ends for my Yum Yums. And I mean, some people might be shocked, especially if you're a Yum Yum fan and you love those ends, but I don't use them because my kids always leave them in the jar and they don't get eaten. So I'm going to cut these up using my Crinkle Cutter, and I'll just show you, but I'm going to have to pause the camera and set up the camera. Alright, so this is my Crinkle Cutter. I think I've showed you guys this when I made oven roast potatoes, but I use this to also do my Yum Yum potatoes. So again, I'm not keeping any of the ends. And for Yum Yums, you should cut them relatively thin. If you were making bread and butter pickles, you'd cut them thicker, but for Yum Yums, you cut them thin. And then we're going to put them in a bowl. And so you see, if you can see how thin that is, not very thick. Try to get them uniform, which I'm not, but yeah. I've also made these like a million times. So one thing I wanted to mention is that when you make pickles, you do have to let them sit for 30 days. Now this is getting harder to cut because the seeds are quite large. And we're going to put these into a bowl because we have to brine them. So we have to make a salt mixture, and we have to let them sit in the salt mixture for about half hour to 45 minutes. And yeah, so I'm going to cut these because I don't think it's all that interesting to sit here and watch me cut cucumbers. But yeah, as soon as I get it in the brine, I'll show you, and I'll also show you the recipe for the brine. All right, so the last of my gallon jars is in, and you're probably wondering why it's all by itself. And that's because you can only fit 4 of the gallons in here. The quarts you can fit 7, the gallons you can fit 4. These are the 4 of the gallons that I got for dill. I'm going to try and get a close-up so you can see the bubbles coming up. So they're not quite boiling. So that's the dill coming up and down. You can kind of see the bubbles kind of going up and down in these jars. Well, the bubbles go up, everything else goes down. So, yes. So these are our 4 gallons, and then we have one more that we're going to get done. And I also wanted to show you, this is our jar of hamburger pickles. So you see I've cut them, and they're dill, and I don't put garlic in them. And they're just ready to use to top on a burger or a hot dog if that's your thing. And they're quite yummy. Alright, so we have all of our cucumbers sliced for our yum yums, and we actually have another bowl. There's a lot. So what we need to do is we need to brine our cucumbers. So I do 4 cups of water with a 1/4 cup of salt. And this is actually 24 cups of water. So we're just stirring it up to dissolve the salt, and hopefully this will all dissolve. And then you have to put this over your pickles or over your cucumbers and let them sit for 3 hours in your brine. And I actually have another bowl because my bowls are a little overfull. So yeah, so when we're ready to start, we'll come back. Alrighty, so I had to put 4 jars of our dill pickles back in the water bath because they weren't sealing. All the rest did seal, and they look really fantastic. I'm actually on to the yum yum pickle. So here we are, we're doing our yum yums. So I cut up some onions from the garden. They were just slightly smaller than tennis balls. I just either quartered them or cut them in 8ths. And I put a section with, like a whole section from middle to outside in each jar. You know that I've already done I've already got my cucumbers sitting in brine. That one got a little wet. I've had them in now for almost 2 hours, and at the 2-hour mark I'm going to drain them and I'm going to start packing them into the jars. So we'll be back when we're ready to do that. Alright, so our dill pickles, the 4 that we had to redo, I can see bubbles inside the jars, so this time it's nice and hot, and they should seal quite nicely, so I'm going to pull those out. Also, I have added the sugary sweet and sour to the pickles I cut up for our yum yum pickles, and our onions in there. When I get back, I will tell you the recipe. I just want to get these in the water, and then I will tell you what goes in them. Alright, so I got this in the canner. I thought I could fit 7 if only one of them was a big one, if only one of them was a gallon, but it didn't work. So I got one lone one sitting here. He'll have to go in later. So let's have a look at what we used to make our syrup, spices and syrup. So first you need vinegar and sugar. I got sugar in that white pail. Turmeric, celery seed, mustard seed. Now some people use cloves. I don't really like cloves that much, and I find they don't sit well with my tummy, so I don't use them. Now I ran out of our mustard seeds, so I just put some dry mustard in, just to kind of get that nice mustardy flavor in there. And that's about it. I will post the recipe as well in the description. So again, sugar and vinegar, mustard, turmeric, celery seed, and of course our onion. So onion always adds a nice flavor. So when these come out, we will show you them, and we'll just keep going.